Do you want to become a talk show host? Do you have a great idea? Passionate World Talk Radio is currently looking for podcast hosts for our Internet Talk radio station. Please email us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com with your name, email address, cell phone number, and podcast topic. In return, you will receive a 3-minute intro on air to a live audience about your podcast. Remember, just email us your name, email address, and your podcast topic, and in return, you will receive a free 3-minute intro on the air. How cool is that? Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain.
Hello, everybody. This is Besty Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio Network, where we educate, enlighten, and entertain. I want to thank Jeannie White, station manager, for writing the blog, producing the show, and for Lillian Caldwell, CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Folks, you're going to want to listen to this podcast because you all need to know that there are millennials out there, people in their 30s, who are caregivers. And I'm going to give a little background on how I met my wonderful guest. I want to encourage people to share posts. If you're on Facebook, if you see someone that you think would be a benefit to someone else, share a podcast to help someone else. A lot of people think, you just want people to share your podcast to promote your show. Well, that's a small part of it, but my show is about helping you, the audience, and helping others. And I want to give a shout-out to my first mentor, Marcia Burr, who introduced me to this wonderful young lady that I'm going to introduce because she sent me Mahogany's video, and Marcia said, "Who does this remind you of?" And Mahogany reminds me of me because I did videos in my car and didn't want to go into my house. We have fun on Chatting with Betsy. So that's what I wanted to say before I bring my guest on. I also want to say, it's the middle of May, and this probably won't be out until June, but May is Older Americans Month, and my guest actually does honor an older American because she takes care of her nanny. It's also Mental Health Awareness Month. So I just want to encourage people, if you are having any kind of depression, any kind of problem, please seek professional counseling and wherever you are in your area. And I also want to say, I can't believe it'll be June in about 2 weeks, no more than 2 weeks, is Brain Awareness Month and Alzheimer's Awareness Month. So a lot of things happening. Also in June 21st is the longest day. Well, without further ado, my guest is Mohagony Bowser-Beasley. She is a blogger. She has a blog. And Family is All We Have. I suggest you all jump on and read it because Mohagony shows reality. She shows her nanny who she takes care of, and I love her nanny. And Mohagony takes care of her nanny, and she has a job, and she has young children, and she's married, so she's a husband to take care of. And you know what? Mohagony's teaching her young children how to be caregivers because we can't teach our children many life lessons from caregiving if we set the example. I want to welcome you, Mohagony, to Chatting with Betsy.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
You are welcome. You are, I want to say, unusual in the fact that you're taking care of your nanny. which, my hat is off to you, and you have 3 young children. So I want to first thank you for coming on and going to share your story. How did that happen for you to take care of your nanny?
So my grandmother was living with me since 2010, and we were staying together. It was me, her, and my 2 boys before I got married. And so it was just, us. And so we were living together. We were doing everything together. And so rightfully so, when she did get diagnosed and, I found out that she had dementia, she was already staying with me. And so I had made a promise to her that I would never, ever put her in a home or anything like that, that I would take care of her to her dying day. So she was already staying with me, and it just came natural, for me to be her caregiver.
And, I just admire you, Mohagony, and I loved your video. And I'm going to tell the audience why Mohagony reminds me of me. When I saw your video, Mohagony was in a car, and she didn't want to go in right away into her house. She just wanted some moments of peace. And I was the same way when I was caregiving. I didn't want to go right into the house. And I did my videos from my car so I wouldn't be disturbed. And people thought I was the crazy lady in the car. But Jeannie White, who's station manager, she discovered me by seeing one of my videos in my car.
That's awesome.
And I, really wanted to have you on to tell your story. How are you managing everything? Running a house, going to work. You have young children. How do you do it all?
The first thing that I tell everyone, it's God. He's the first thing. It's Him. I rely on Him for wisdom, for strength, for fortitude, for guidance. I rely on Him. I'm very strong in my faith. I'm very big on self-care. So not only am I taking care of everyone, but I also make sure I take care of myself. And I just try to take it one day at a time. Not only am I a wife with 3 children and a caregiver to Nanny, but I'm heavily involved in my church. I do have the blog. I have an up-and-coming clothing line. I work at a mental health respite. And then I'm a mobile notary. So I have so much going on. But I try to prioritize, and then I have a schedule. And so I try to adhere to the schedule and stick to the schedule. Not that it's always going to go that way, but I try to stay focused on, the important things, the goals. And like you said, my children are many caregivers. My husband helps me. He's a caregiver. My mom, she lives right around the corner. So when I'm at work, she's caregiving for Nanny. So I have a large community of help. And so that's important as well. So God is the number one reason. I rely on Him to help me. And yes, you did see a video of me in my car, and I was laughing at that time. But I've been in the car crying sometimes, Betsy.
Yes, I've been there.
I've been in the car releasing. So I get it all done, and sometimes I amaze myself how I get it all done. But I'm just very grateful that I'm able to get it all done, and I'm still going, because it's very, very hard caring with someone with dementia. And then I'm still a caregiver in other aspects with my children, with my husband, with my job. So it's hard, but I thank God that I get it done.
Amen to that. I agree. I can say that. And I have said that by the grace of God, I got through caregiving, because there were some days, Mohagony, I didn't know if I'd make it through. Honestly, did not know. And I've cried many times in my car. I looked like a crazy woman going to work because I'm yelling in my car and screaming on my way to work. Do you ever feel, I don't like using the word guilty, but I don't know what other word to use, when you go to work? Because sometimes I felt guilty with Matt, my husband, and going to work. Not when Josh was younger, but I felt more guilty leaving Matt.
Right.
So do you ever struggle with that?
I do. I struggle with knowing that, I'm not there, caring for my grandmother in all aspects. So, I do in the morning before I leave, I give her a breakfast, her medication, shower. Then I take her to my mom's house. And so I'm still getting calls from everyone. Well, what do we do about this? Or what do we do about that? And I have that guilt that if I was there, they wouldn't have to call me or they wouldn't have to try to figure it out. But then also I told her I would be her caregiver. And so how am I really caregiving, for her if I'm outside of the house? But then I also, on the other side of it, I need that balance. And so I can, so heavily involved in caring for her that my life is, I'm not still able to live my life. So I do feel guilty. I really, really feel bad, especially my brother called me actually today, and he asked me, did Nanny eat her lunch? And so my grandmother told me yesterday, she said, you did a good job in teaching him how to be a caregiver. So kind of compares me to everyone. And so when I'm not there, she looks for me. She asks for me. She calls for me. Where's Mohagony at? Where's Mohagony at? So I feel bad because I feel like I'm leaving her. And, she's already scared, sometimes paranoid, sometimes, working through her delusions. And I know she be wanting me. And so it's just like a child, leaving your child. That's what it feels like. Leaving your child and leaving them with the babysitter, or the caregiver or the nanny, and you're gone. And then when you come back, they're just so anxious because every time I come home, she is anxious and she's ready. She's ready to see me and she's anxious. So, yes, it is a guilt to it.
Yes, and, a lot of people don't realize this, and I just want to tell caregivers, speaking from my own experience, we're entitled to a life outside the home, and we're entitled to do our self-care, and people need to work. People need money, and, we shouldn't feel guilty, but we do, and I find that caregivers, and I know because I was one, I'm still a caregiver, feel guilty about something, during the journey, and, sometimes you just feel guilty after the journey is over. But if I can just, encourage you to, and, hey, you're going to, feel guilty about something, but don't drive yourself crazy because you're doing the best that you can. And what I love about what you post about in your blog, Mohagony, is humor and self-care. I love that. People, you got to listen. You got to watch the videos. You have to go watch, read her blog because I could be, having a bad day with something, and I'll look at Mohagony's video and see her Nanny, and I start smiling because I just wanted to reach in and hug both of them. How do you do self-care with all that you have going on? Maybe you could give some hints.
I have a large community. I have my mom, her husband, my younger brother. I have my husband, and so we work a schedule. So like Monday through Friday, like I said, I go to work, and then my grandmother is with my mom. So sometimes I may sneak in a little self-care during the week. But basically I do my self-care on the weekends, like Saturday and Sunday. And so on Saturday and Sunday, my mom is at home all day, and my husband is at home. So I just sneak away, Besty. I call them up and call my mom and say, hey, I'm going to get my hair done, or hey, I'm going to, I need a couple of hours. And so she watches Nanny, and I get to go and have my little massage. I have a membership with Massage Envy. And so, and at first, when I got it, I didn't think of it, the importance of it. Okay, this is self-care. But when I don't get my massages, I feel it. And then I get facials, and then I get my hair done, and I get my toes done. So I sneak away, but I also let them know, hey, I need some alone time, some quality time. I need to get away. And so they understand the weight of it because they also get time alone. So it's being compassionate and giving each other compassion and showing compassion and then understanding where we all are. And so, yeah, self-care, I cannot stress it enough. Self-care is so important. I posted today, you cannot pour out of an empty vessel. I mean, you just can't. And so if I'm empty and I'm trying to care for my grandmother, I'm not giving her the best me, and she does not deserve that. She's already fighting a disease that she did not ask for. So the best thing that I can do for her is take care of myself so that I can take care of her.
Absolutely. And I have said this so many times, Mohagony, I'm going to say it again. Self-care is literally a matter of life and death. That's how serious self-care is, folks, because the mortality rate among caregivers is high now. Mohagony, you're a young woman. You're younger than my son. But so you have, a whole life. You want to be healthy. You want to be able to be healthy and enjoy life. And so I tip my hat to you that you were doing self-care. I'm proud of you. I want to say, good girl. That's wonderful. I want to know, how are you dealing with your children and dealing with your great grandma when she has like maybe strange behaviors, and how did you get them involved with the caring of helping you caregive?
So my very first post on my blog, I believe it was titled The Talk, and it was regarding having to sit my children down and talk to them and let them know that something was going on with my grandmother. So like I said earlier, my grandmother has been living with me since 2010. So that my oldest was about 3. And my youngest, he wasn't quite 1 yet, but he was almost, turning to 1. And so my grandmother has been in their entire life. She's been there. And so they noticed a change. And what had happened was they were playing a video game one day, and this is when I really had to go take her to the doctor because I knew something was wrong. They were playing the video game one day, and my son called me, and he said, Mom, Nanny is saying we're threatening her. And so this is one of the days I'm just in the car by myself, just running to the store, running back home. And so I was so overcome with emotions. I didn't know what to do, Betsy. I was very, very scared because I was like, well, what does she mean that y'all are trying to attack her? And so by the time I got home, my grandmother was so worked up and fixated. I mean, I couldn't tell her anything different. She believed that the boys were plotting to hurt her. And that hurt me to my core because those are not my children. They would never do anything like that. And so from that situation, I had to sit them down. I had to talk to them and let them know that, Nanny is a little different. And so I explained to them everything that was going on, that, she no longer can remember. If something happens, she may not remember. She may not know how to go to the restroom, or she may be scared, or she may pop in. I just explained to them a bunch of symptoms and let them know that these things are bound to happen. And so from that conversation, they started saying, well, how basically they wanted to know what they could do so that Nanny wouldn't feel uncomfortable, because it was no longer us feeling uncomfortable. It was, Nanny feeling uncomfortable, Nanny being on the edge, Nanny being agitated. And so my oldest, he helps me with her meals. He helps me with her medication. They help me with, like, bringing her water or helping her walk around the corner to my mom's house. So they're very active, and I let them help me so that they can see that, it is Nanny, but then it's not Nanny, but it's still Nanny. But I want them not to be afraid of her. I don't want them to miss these moments with her, because we're still building moments. We're still making memories. So I still want them very active, but I also let them know so they're aware that if something happens or if Nanny accuses them or something like that, it's not Nanny. It's not her. And so that is how my kids got involved, that one situation. And I can tell you, I still think about that now, Betsy. But my daughter has brought my grandmother in when she went outside and no one knew about it. She has brought her back in, and my daughter is 7. So my kids are on alert, they're on alarm, they're very aware, and they take care of my grandmother. I mean, they take care of her, and I appreciate my kids for doing it because they don't have to do it, but they know that Mommy needs them, and they know that Nanny needs them, and they help us.
That's so beautiful. I always say, children, grandchildren, they can be the hidden casualties of this war on dementia,
Yes.
but they don't have to be. They do not have to be. We need to be in tune with our children, and let them vent to us when something bothers them and going on with a relative, whatever their relationship is with their loved one. In your children's case, that's their grandma, great-grandma. And, it could be, the father or grandfather, uncle, aunt, whoever it is, to let the children, talk to you and without fear of judgment, because I always say keep the lines of communication open with your children. You want them to be able to come to you and not go out on the street to get advice. And I think that's beautiful, how you're raising your children. And, we could teach our children so many life lessons, compassion and empathy and love and unconditional love, Mohagony, because their great-grandma can't do for them, but they're doing it for their great-grandma, knowing they won't get, they'll get a kiss, a hug, but they're not going to get, like a material thing, or, grandma may not be able to cook for them their favorite dish, but they are helping, and it is an unconditional love, and they see you doing unconditional love. I'd like to know, how did you start writing your blog?
So I was actually in my boys' room, and I was hanging up some clothing on a Saturday, and I just heard a small, still voice say, "Create a blog and title it Family is All We Have." And I just said, God, I don't have time to do a blog. I already have 1,000,001 things going on. What would I do? What would I say on the blog? And so I said, okay. And then I said, well, what's the purpose of the blog? I didn't find out the purpose until 2 months later of the blog. But that's how the blog started. Never in my wildest dreams, Besty, would I have thought I would be. Yes, I love to write. I love to tell stories. I love to make videos. But I would have never thought about putting Nanny in front of, the TV, the camera, or in front of the phone. I would have never thought that, because she's a private person and she's very prideful. And so I'm private as well, and so this is something that's sentimental to me, but it's also something that's hurtful, and so I did not want to put that on the platform. And my grandmother wasn't ready to let people know that she was struggling with dementia, so I also didn't want to, go against her will. But when I explained to her what was going on and what was happening, she's now into it. she's now into it. So that's how Family is All We Have started. It was a small voice on the inside of me, and it just encouraged me to create the blog, to be an inspiration and encouragement to others, and to show others it is possible to be young, to be a millennium, to have a family, and still care for your loved one and still live your life. And so the whole purpose of the blog is to inspire. If you don't leave with anything else, I want you to leave inspired.
I love it. I love it. On Wednesdays you have about humor also. And I always laugh, because we do need to laugh and have humor. Where can people find your blog, Mohagony?
So the blog it's both on Instagram and Facebook. And on both social medias, it's on Family is All We Have. It is titled Family is All We Have. And it's titled Family is All We Have because at the end of the day, family just doesn't consist of blood. Family consists of whomever you have welcomed into your life that has been trustworthy, that has been loyal, that has been kind, that has made the great exchange of love with you. And so family is, at the end of the day, family is all we have. whether it's a sister, cousin, brother, a friend or associate, a relative, a distant, whatever it is, and you consider them as family, family is all we have. So they can find it on Instagram and Facebook.
And I suggest, again, for everyone to hop on and read it because you will really enjoy reading it and seeing the videos. Mohagony, I have to ask you this question because you're young and you are very busy. How do you and your husband find time to have a date night and to keep your marriage strong and stable with caregiving?
I'm so glad that you asked that. And
because I know it could be rough. It could be rough.
Very much so. So the funny thing is, Besty, Nanny makes sure we have a date every week. Nanny is very before dementia. Nanny was married twice, and so she understands the importance of keeping the romance and the passion and the fire in your marriage. And so if we don't go on a date, Nanny is upset. She is petrified. She's like, did y'all go on your date? And so our family helps us either by watching the children or letting the children come over, and we'll sneak away for like an hour or 2 hours. And so that's how we do it. Our family helps us. They help us go on our many dates. And Nanny is such an advocate of us going on dates. She even sometimes she has even provided money to us so that we could go on dates because she just wants us to remember that we need to keep our love alive, that we don't need to allow our marriage to die. And so it's so important that in caregiving you don't lose yourself, because it's so easy to lose yourself, Betsy. It's so easy to be consumed with the caregiver life and role that you forget that you're a human being, and after your loved one is gone, you'll still be here and still have to live. And so
that's right.
Nanny my husband, she don't want that for us. You know, she wants us to continue to live our life, take care of our children, and build our lives. So Nanny is a part of our dates.
Oh, that is so sweet. Oh, that's so sweet. Because I know, I've been in a lot of different care groups, support groups. I knew in my own life when I had to take care of Matt's mom, if you don't have a supportive spouse, a lot of marriages break up, or, they just miscommunication. And then, the loved one passes on, and then you're left picking up the pieces of what shouldn't have fallen apart, but it did. And I'm glad that you have a date night. It's very important to, have both be supportive. I mean, you're very fortunate that your husband's very supportive. Some people don't have that, a wife or a husband or partner. So it's important when both people are on the same page. That's for sure. Do you have family counseling at all? Like, does your family go for any counseling?
So the family does not go for counseling, but I do. And that is a good suggestion. But I go. I go because it was a period when when she first was diagnosed, that I was overwhelmed with emotions because I could not accept it. I didn't want to accept it. And so I ensured that I get counseling. I do want to eventually get it for my children, but I'm in counseling. And so it's important for me. That's another thing about self-care, is getting, the help that you need. And so I'm not, at first I was afraid of it because I'm like, what am I going to tell them? But it's some stuff that was deep down and rooted in me, even wrapped up with my grandmother's diagnosis. And so needing to forgive myself because, I have, things that I deal with about it because I still haven't fully accepted it. I know it's here, but I still haven't fully accepted it. So, yes, Betsy, I do counseling for my mental health. It's important for me.
Oh, definitely. I recommend that for everybody. I went for counseling myself when I was caregiving for Matt, and I am going for grief counseling now. So and well, when you're the middle of May, tomorrow's the middle of May, mental health awareness, folks, there is nothing wrong with going for counseling. Go for it. Don't wait till you're on the verge of a breakdown, like I was, snapping at people. I was at work. I worked with children. I was snapping at them, didn't even realize it. You have to just sometimes talk to someone who can be objective and not judge you for what you say. And I recommend counseling for everybody, really. I just think it's very beneficial. It helped me very much.
It's important. It really is important to get the stuff out of you. Like, just talk to. It's important to get that release, because even though you're caring for that person, it's not the same as before. So when before you could release and they could understand and they could comprehend and they could have compassion, well, they're no longer in that state. And so now you're just bottling everything up inside, your frustrations, your anger, your agitation, and you got all these feelings inside. You need to get it out. And so when you go and talk to someone and get that out, it's so much of a weight lifter. It just releases the weight, and so it's very, very important. It's very important. Even things that you don't think that is important to get out, it's important.
Right. And I, have always told people it is not a sign of weakness, folks, when you go for help. It's actually a sign of strength to say, you know what, I need to talk to somebody. There is, I know it's old school. I'm 63. When I was growing up, you didn't talk about things. This is now 2021, folks. You know what? Go for help. And I'm so proud of you, Mohagony.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that I met you, and so proud of you. You are a role model for millennials. You are a role model for a lot of people. I admire what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And I think you're going to be on fire, girl. I think you're going to get people are going to be calling you to be on their podcast and video shows. And you're welcome. I just think, you're doing a wonderful job. And I just want you to know that if you ever, need any advice, support, I'm here for you.
Absolutely. And I am grateful that I met you. We're in different stages of our dementia walk. And so I'll soon one day be where you are, but I'm inspired by your posts. I'm inspired by the flashbacks. I would have loved to meet Matt and talk to him, and just to see you guys' marriage and just the inspiration of you taking care of him, and you're still living, and you're still grieving, and you're still going through it, but you're still living. So that's inspiration to not just me, but to other caregivers, because that's the thing. Walking through it, you still have to live after. And so I salute you and celebrate you as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Mohagony. I'm going to have you on again. I just am. I'm going to have you on in the future, because I'm going to want to update. And I think what you have to say is so important. You're a millennial. You're in your 30s. And I want people to know, what? There are caregivers in their 30s, their 20s, their teens, because more and more people are getting dementia young. And the younger the onset, the younger the child, whether it's going to be a teenager, a very young child, adult child, it's going to happen. And I think the millennials are they're going to start realizing this. And, I think that's why you are a great role model. My son is 36. He'll be 37 in July. He was 15 when we moved in with my mother-in-law. He was 25 when his father was diagnosed. So he's had he's had his fill of caregiving, and seeing dementia, but it made him, he's very compassionate, has empathy, and I'm very proud of him. Excuse me, I have to cough. Mohagony, how can people reach you?
My email is familyisalwehaveone@outlook.com, or they can reach me at mohagonybowser@yahoo.com.
Okay, and your blog is on Facebook and Instagram, and
yes.
You're on Facebook. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, folks. Oh, you're welcome. I really want to encourage the audience. Go look at Mohagony's blog. Family is all we have. You will be inspired. You will laugh. And Mohagony's the real deal. And her Nanny, I'm telling you, she cracks me up. She's just so sweet. I just wish I could hug both of you. Give your Nanny a hug from Betsy from New Jersey, and hug your children, your husband. I'm so glad you have a support team, and that you're taking care of yourself. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for coming on Chatting with Betsy.
Thank you.
Excuse me. You're welcome. Folks, if you missed any of this podcast, you can catch it again on your favorite podcast. Please subscribe to Chatting with Betsy. And I am on, let's say, for example, Google, iTunes, Amazon, Alexa, wherever you hear your podcast, you will hear Chatting with Betsy. You can please rate me. Hopefully you give me 5 stars. And I just want to help people. And when you hear this podcast, please share it with someone else. Maybe you know someone who's a millennial or younger that needs a little help, that could use a little support. And you know why? When we share our stories, we're helping each other. And when we share our journeys, we're helping each other. I'm proud of Mohagony for showing her Nanny's journey. And that's what we need to do, folks. We need to share our journeys and to put a name and a face to this disease and not be afraid to do it. Don't worry about what people think. Just do it. That's what I did. And I really didn't care what people thought. So you don't realize that each person's story touches other lives, and we don't know the ripples that can happen. And folks, in a world where you can be anything, please be kind. This is Besty Wurzel. You're a host of Chatting with Betsy and Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Be kind, everybody. Bye-bye.
Do you want to become a talk show host? Do you have a great idea? Passionate World Talk Radio is currently looking for podcast hosts for our Internet Talk radio station. Please email us at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com with your name, email address, cell phone number, and podcast topic. In return, you will receive a 3-minute intro on air to a live audience about your podcast. Remember, just email us your name, email address, and your podcast topic, and in return, you will receive a free 3-minute intro on the air. How cool is that? Thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You can listen to this program all over again by going over to https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear it on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Alexa, AMFM247.com every Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and all the other podcast directories one can find on the internet.